I'm with Fred Xlander, attorney at law, our go-to guy for real estate closing information and all the stuff you need to do and not do in a real estate transaction. Fred, how's that for an intro?
That's a great intro, John. Thank you so much.
Hey, there's some big changes this month.
Well, as of October 3rd, some major changes, generational changes.
Yeah, people should know about this.
Yeah, your viewers really do need to know about this. As of October 3rd, for mortgage applications taken after that time, a whole new set of closing procedures are implemented. And gone is the old HUD statement, the settlement statement that we've used for 40 years.
Right.
And replacing it is this closing disclosure, which is a new 5-page document that brings together the truth in lending form as well as what we used to call the HUD, and now we're calling the closing disclosure. The big deal, John, isn't so much that the documentation changed, because real estate math is the same. You do tax adjustments the same way, attorney's fees are going to be the same, title insurance premiums are going to be the
What's
same.
the bad news?
Here's the bad news. The bad news is gone are the days where you get a clear to close from a lender today, and we try and get you closed, say, tomorrow or the next day.
Right.
That's gone. Because under the new rules, and all of this is implemented by an agency called the Consumer Financial Protection Board, CFPB. They promulgated all these rules, but under their under their rules, there is a 3-day requirement that this closing disclosure goes to the buyer, and they have that 3 days to examine this, ask questions, go back to the loan officer, go to their attorney to figure out what they don't understand.
3 days.
3 days.
They should.
They should. This is actually a pretty good rule.
Yeah, it's a good rule.
After we get this implemented and we get some experience with it, John, I think it's actually a good
There's
thing.
some silliness with it too, though. Like, for example, you told me that they can't just fax that to somebody.
Right. I think the lenders are going to take the position that they're going to mail these most of the time, because under the rules, if you mail it, you have to add 3 more days, so now we're up to 6 days. But the mailing is deemed to be appropriate and received by the buyer. That's the thing. Now, there are other things that lenders might be able to do, like have the buyer come into the office and pick it up. And that could, reduce.
If they want to do it quick, come on into the office.
Right. So there might be some things that we can do. But I would say that at least off the get-go, when we start implementing this, you're going to see probably about a 6-day wait time. And it gets even more interesting, John, because I think most lenders are going to actually require as much as 2 weeks between the clear to close and the first day that you can schedule. Because not only does the buyer have to review this for 3 days, maybe 6 if it's mailed, you also have to get all the data into the bank. The tax adjustments, all the fees and that sort of thing. They have to create this, and it's the lender that has to create this and get it to the buyer. It's no longer a closing agent like myself that's doing the closing disclosure like we do with the HUDs now.
Right. So to me, it sounds like that it's going to take a lot longer to close a deal. Now, what about somebody gets a mortgage commitment, and their mortgage commitment on this great interest rate they have, or their mortgage rate lock?
Right.
They got a great rate lock until the 15th, and now all of a sudden it's going to be 2 more weeks till they get an extension on the rate lock?
In talking to the various banks that we represent, it's all over the board. I think some banks are going to be more flexible with it and others not so flexible with it. Probably for the payment of a fee, we can always get it extended and keep the rate, which I think is the most important thing. So there's going to be a lot of wrinkles here, a lot of things to figure out as we go forward with this. But your viewers, I think, need to know about this,
Right.
Both buyers and sellers, and just incorporate this into their thinking as they get into the real estate transactions
Right.
now.
There's a lot of pressure. This is the biggest investment most people
Right.
make in their life. So there's a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. So that is one part of it. But the other part of it is that it forces everybody to take the time to review the papers, to know how much money you're going to get hit with when you come to a closing. That has always been a big problem, I think, with banks. Is like somebody shows up and they go, "They told me it was going to be $5,000. I had to write a check for $8,000."
Right. That's exactly what the CFPB is trying to accomplish here. Get rid of surprises, so that the buyer walks in and they know everything that they have to spend and all the money that they need to bring to the table. Right now, it does get a little squishy, and
Squishy.
and this takes the squish out of it, I
Yeah.
guess.
All right. Well, Fred, thank you very much. Very informative. Now, somebody can just call your office, get a hold of you, and
Anytime.
ask questions on this
Absolutely,
procedure.
be happy to help anyone that has a question. Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, John.